Hello and welcome to Basics for Gamers presents the Basics of Starfinder Starship Combat Part 6, Engineers. In Part 5 of this series, we discussed Starship attacks, the gunner role, and critical damage effects. In this video, we're going to continue that discussion by exploring the engineer role and what they can do to help mitigate damage that has been dealt to their ship systems. Engineers are tasked with buffing and repairing their ship. Unsurprisingly, engineers act during the engineering phase of combat, and although there may be any number of engineers aboard a ship, unless otherwise stated, no single engineering action may be attempted twice in the same round. So if your ship has 3 engineers, they will need to perform 3 different actions. And the first of those actions is called divert. When an engineer takes the divert action, they push the ship's auxiliary power into another system to give it a boost. Doing so requires an engineering check versus a DC equal to 10 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. The results of a successful check depend on which system you are diverting power to. If the power is sent to the engines, then the ship's speed increases by 2 until the start of the next turn. If it is sent to the sensors, then all science officer actions receive a +2 bonus that round. If sent to the weapon systems, treat all damage dice that roll 1s as if they had rolled 2s. Note that this affects all weapons aboard the ship, not one specific weapon or one specific facing. If the auxiliary power is diverted to shields, then the ship is restored a number of shield points equal to 5% of the ship's PCU rating up to the shield generator's maximum value. These shield points may be distributed to the 4 shield facings however the engineer wishes, and since this is not considered as quote balancing the shields, then there is no requirement that each facing have at least 10% of the available shield points assigned to it. Power may not be diverted to buff the power core, as that's where the auxiliary power is being diverted from. If an engineer wishes to do more with their auxiliary power, then they may attempt an overpower action. They must have at least 6 ranks in the engineering skill to use overpower, but if they do, they can spend 1 resolve point and then make an engineering check against a DC equal to 15 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. If successful, the results are the same as with the divert action, except the engineer may choose 3 different systems to boost. And note that divert and overpower may not be used in the same round. So if one engineer aboard the ship does divert, then any other engineers aboard that ship cannot also do overpower in the same round. If the ship has suffered critical damage to one or more of its systems, then the engineer has a few options available to help manage that damage. The first of those is by using Hold It Together. When using Hold It Together, the engineer makes an engineering check against a DC equal to 15 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. If successful, they select one critically damaged system, and that system operates as if it was 2 steps higher on the critical condition track until the start of the next round. So, for example, wrecked systems function as if they were glitching, and malfunctioning and glitch systems function as if they were undamaged. Checks made for Hold It Together are not penalized due to a critically damaged power core. Another option available to engineers wishing to mitigate critical damage is the patch action. Patch is used to jury-rig a system so that it temporarily functions as if it was undamaged. To perform this action, refer to both the chart on page 324 of the core rules as well as the updated engineering check DCs found in the official FAQ online. For convenience, I have updated that chart and it is displayed on the screen here with the correct DCs, and you may want to note them in the margin of your core rulebook so that you don't have to go hunting for that FAQ online every time you need them. When an engineer wishes to patch a system, just refer to the chart. Find the system's current condition in the first column of the chart. Next to it, you'll see listed the number of successful engineering skill checks that are needed to patch a system with that level of critical damage. And in the last column, you will see the DC that is needed for those checks. So for example, say the engines are malfunctioning. Patching them requires 2 successful engineering checks against a DC of 15 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. This can either be accomplished by one engineer over 2 rounds or by 2 engineers who both take the patch action in the same round. Also, before the dice are rolled, the engineer can voluntarily raise the DC of their checks by 5. If successful, that patch action counts as 2 successes towards the number of successful actions needed to patch the system. Once a system is patched, it functions as if it was undamaged, no matter how damaged that system actually is. So a wrecked system that is patched functions as if it was undamaged. It does not become malfunctioning and require additional patch actions to make it glitching and so on. And note that patching is a temporary solution, and the effects of a patch end after 1 hour of time, at the end of combat, or when that system has suffered another critical damage effect, in which case it is treated as its true critical damage status. So, for example, malfunctioning sensors are successfully patched. They are treated as if they are undamaged, and the science officer may perform push actions and does not face additional penalties due to the sensors being damaged. 3 rounds later, the sensors suffer another critical damage effect. This instantly removes the patch effect and moves the sensors from malfunctioning to wrecked. And the last action available to engineers is Quick Fix. This allows an engineer to completely remove all critical damage conditions from a single system for 1 hour. To perform this action, the engineer must have at least 12 ranks in the engineering skill and spend 1 resolve point. They then make an engineering check versus a DC equal to 20 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. If successful, the targeted system returns to a state of being undamaged. It applies no penalties, and unlike with patch, if that system suffers another critical damage effect, the quick fix is not removed and that system just becomes glitching. After 1 hour has passed, the quick fix is undone and that system returns to the worst of either its current condition or the condition it was at the time that it was quick fixed. So, for example, a weapon system is malfunctioning. The engineer takes a quick fix action and succeeds on the check. That arc of weapons becomes undamaged. A round later, it is hit with another critical damage effect and becomes glitching. 2 rounds later, it's hit again, which renders it malfunctioning. And in the next round, it is pummeled again and becomes wrecked. After an hour, the quick fix ends and it remains wrecked. But if the system had survived the combat and an hour later was undamaged or glitching, in that case it would return to malfunctioning and require proper repairs. Which raises the question, if all of the engineer actions only temporarily fix damaged systems, then how do you actually repair a starship? Outside of combat, critical damage conditions may be removed by spending 10 minutes and succeeding on an engineering check against a DC determined by the damaged system's condition. It's a DC 15 for glitching, 20 for malfunctioning, and 25 for wrecked. If successful, the selected system is completely repaired and it becomes undamaged. Repairing damage to the hull and restoring lost hull points is a little more difficult. First, the ship must come to a complete stop, preferably on a planet with a breathable atmosphere or within a space dock that has the proper repair facilities. The crew members performing the repairs must have access to the outside of the ship, so if performing repairs in the black of space, they will need proper gear to function on the outside of the ship. The base cost for performing repairs yourself is 10 UPBs per hull point repaired and requires 5 hours of work regardless of how many hull points are restored. Characters can cut either the time required or the UPB cost in half by succeeding on an engineering check against a DC equal to 15 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier, and also cuts the time or the cost in half again for every 10 points that they beat that DC by, to a minimum cost of 1 UPB per hull point and 1 hour spent on repairs. Any number of allies can use the Aid Another action to assist with repairs, and if the check results in a failure, then the UPB cost per point of haul increases by 5. And that is true regardless of if the check was being made to lower the UPB cost or reduce the time needed. If it's a failure, then the cost per UPB goes up by 5. Restoring shields is a fairly easy process. As long as the ship's power core is not wrecked, then the shields are going to regenerate lost shield points on their own and at a rate found on page 302 of the core rules. When the ship is not in combat and not subject to any other damage, for example from asteroids or from some manner of stellar anomaly, then the shields are going to regenerate at their listed amount. For example, a light shield 60 generator regenerates 2 shield points per minute, and these shield points are placed into whichever of the 4 arcs has the fewest shield points already assigned. This rate of restoration can also be doubled for 10 minutes by spending 1 minute of work and then rolling an engineering check against a DC equal to 15 plus 1.5 times the ship's tier. In this video, we discussed the engineer role and ways to mitigate or repair damage to your ship. Engineers act during the engineering phase of starship combat, and their primary starship system is the power core. When the power core becomes damaged, it imposes a penalty to all engineering skill checks unless otherwise noted. There can be any number of engineers aboard a ship, but unless otherwise noted, no engineering action may be attempted twice in the same round. So if your ship has 3 engineers, each of them will need to choose different actions on any given round. The first action is called Divert, and it is used to boost the power being supplied to one of the ship's systems. If sent to the engines, then the ship gains +2 speed. If sent to the weapons, then all damage dice that roll 1s are instead treated as if they had rolled 2s. If sent to sensors, then all science officer actions receive a +2 bonus, and if the power is sent to shields, then the ship heals an amount of shield points equal to 5% of its power core's PCU rating. The second action available to engineers is the Overpower action. This works the same as Divert, except the engineer may boost any 3 systems instead of just 1. Note that both Divert and Overpower may not be used in the same round because they're both redirecting the auxiliary power of the ship, so you have to choose either to Divert or to Overpower. Hold It Together may be used to cause a critically damaged system to operate as if it was 2 steps better on the critical condition track, and Patch is used to temporarily repair a critically damaged system. Attempting Patch may require multiple successful engineering skill checks, but fortunately this is an exception to the rule that restricts 2 engineers from taking the same action in the same round, and any number of engineers may take the Patch action in the same round. Also remember that Hold It Together and Patch are exceptions that do not suffer penalties due to having a damaged power core. And the last engineer action is Quick Fix. Similar to Patch, Quick Fix temporarily repairs a damaged system, but the key difference is if a patched system takes additional damage, then the patch is removed and the damage is applied to that system's previous damaged state. But when a quickly fixed system takes additional damage, it is applied as if the system was undamaged. We also talked a bit about how to properly repair damage when you're outside of combat. Critical damage can be removed from systems by spending 10 minutes of work and succeeding on an engineering skill check. Repairing a ship's hull takes 5 hours of work and costs 10 UPBs per hull point repaired, and the required time or the cost can be reduced with engineering skill checks. And as long as the ship's power core is not wrecked, it will regenerate shield points automatically on its own as long as the ship is not taking any further damage. With that, we'll bring this video to a close. If you found this video helpful, please give us a like, and don't forget to click that subscribe button and bell so you don't miss out on our future videos. Leave us a comment letting us know what topics you would like to see us cover in the future, and we can always be reached through our Twitter and Facebook pages too. If you would like to use some of the maps that we feature in our videos with your own games, you can find them at Maps of Mastery and 0 Hour. Links to those sites may be found in the description. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you soon with more basics for your favorite tabletop games.